Let me ask you a serious question. How many actors can disappear from the spotlight, return years later, and somehow continue doing exactly the same thing they were doing 20 years ago? I'm not talking about surviving. I'm talking about staying relevant. Because while Nollywood has changed, the cameras have changed, streaming changed everything, social media changed audience, even the actresses around him changed. One man somehow remained exactly where he has always been. Still playing romantic leads, still getting leading man roles, still looking directly into someone's eyes and delivering emotional lines like he never left. And somehow, people are loving it. Today, we're talking about one of Nollywood's most fascinating comeback stories, because what is happening with Emeka Ike right now is bigger than nostalgia. It's teaching us something important about fame, about longevity, and about why certain actors never truly leave the public imagination. And trust me, the deeper I researched this story, the more surprising it became. If you grew up in Nigeria during the late 1990s and early 2000s, you already know Emeka Ike was not just an actor, he was a phenomenon. He belonged to that generation of actors that practically lived inside people's television sets. And back then, the romantic era was one of the most powerful positions in Nollywood. And Emeka Ike occupied that lane comfortably. He had the looks, he had the charm, he had the confidence, and perhaps most importantly, he understood what audiences wanted. People often think acting is only about talent, but that's not completely true. A huge part of acting is emotional connection. Can audience believe you? Can they connect with you? Can they imagine you inside the story? And for years, audiences connected with Emeka Ike. But here is where things become interesting. Because unlike many actors from that era, his journey was not smooth. There was a period when many people genuinely thought they had seen the last of him. While Nollywood was evolving, a lot was happening behind the scenes. New actors were emerging, new producers were taking over, streaming platforms were arriving, and audience tastes were changing. The industry that existed in 2005 was very different from the industry emerging in 2020. And during that transformation, many familiar faces slowly faded away. Not because they lacked talent, but because the industry moved. Nollywood has always been brutal in one way. It does not stop for anybody. Yet, somehow, Emeka Ike found a way back. And that's what fascinates me. Let me know in the comments right now, which Nollywood actor had the greatest comeback? Is it Emeka Ike or somebody else? I genuinely want to hear your opinion. Now, let's talk about the thing everybody noticed. I think something else is happening right now. Audiences are becoming nostalgic. The world is changing fast. Everything feels digital. Everything feels rushed. And people are suddenly reconnecting with things that remind them of simpler times. That's why veteran actors are becoming valuable again. Not because they are old, but because they represent memories. When audience see certain faces, they don't just see actors, they see childhood. But Emeka Ike isn't the only veteran making headlines, because behind the scenes, another Nollywood legend is preparing one of the biggest returns we've seen in years. And if the rumors are true, this comeback could completely change the conversations around Nollywood again. Recently, conversations started going around the possibility of a film adaptation of the best-selling novel, Stay With Me. For anyone who has not read it, this isn't your typical love story. It's a deeply emotional story about marriage, family pressure, expectations, loss, secrets, and the complicated things people do when love is tested. And if adapted correctly, it has the potential to become one of those films that start conversations longer after the credit roll. But if you think that's interesting, wait until you hear the next story. While I was making the research, I stumbled across something that instantly transported me back to childhood. So I saw this on Pulse TV, and then I realized something shocking. An entire generation of Nigerians grew up watching these people without even realizing they were Ghanaians. How did that happen? And how did one of the greatest collaborations in African entertainment fall apart? Let me ask you something that might shock younger viewers. There was a time when millions of Nigerians were watching certain actors every week, admiring them, falling in love with their performances, and recommending their movies to friends, without even realizing those actors were not Nigerian. And honestly, the fact that many people could not tell the difference might be the greatest compliment that partnership ever received. If you grew up in early and mid 2000s, you remember something special. Back then, African cinema felt different. New faces were appearing constantly. Stories felt bigger. The industry felt fresh. And suddenly, these actors from Ghana started appearing everywhere. And the audience loved them. Not because they were Ghanaian. Not because they were foreign. But because they were good. Trust me, the average viewer was not analyzing passports. They were connecting with the stories. Now, let's settle this in the comments. Who was your favorite Ghanaian actor or actress during that era? Is it Van Vika? Is it Jackie Appiah? Is it Magic Michael? Is it Nadia Buhari? Or somebody else? I already know this comment section is about to become a war zone. Now, here's the part many younger fans don't know. The collaboration was not an accident. It was business. Smart business. As production costs increased, filmmakers started looking for alternatives, new locations, new opportunities, new markets, and Ghana presented an opportunity. Production could be done differently, resources could be stretched further, and filmmakers could access entirely new audience. But what started as a practical decision eventually became something much bigger. It became a cultural bridge. Think about it. These actors were not simply appearing in films. They were becoming household names. People debated their performances. People had favorite parents. People followed their careers. And for a brief period, African cinema felt united. It was not just Nigerian benefiting. It wasn't just Ghana benefiting. Everybody gained something. Nollywood gained fresh faces. Ghanaian actors gained larger exposure. Audience gained more variety. But when something happened, something that has destroyed many great partnerships throughout history, the bigger something becomes, the more complicated it gets. And eventually, questions started emerging. Who was benefiting more? Who was getting more opportunities? Whose culture was being represented? Those conversations became louder. And like many successful collaborations, the challenges were not creative. They were human. Pride, competition, different priorities, different visions. Looking back today, I think something valuable was lost. Not just actors, not just movies. A feeling that African cinema could move together. Imagine what that partnership would look like today. Modern streaming platforms, larger budgets, international audience, stronger distribution, I know some will say we're already experiencing this already, but the possibilities would be enormous. Think about it. But despite everything, I remain optimistic because when I compare where African cinema is today to where it was 20 years ago, the growth is impossible to ignore. We've come from cassette tapes to streaming platforms. Some Jay-Z's don't understand this though. From local distribution to international recognition, from small productions to films competing on global stages. Amazing. But here's the question I can't stop thinking about. What if the next great era of African cinema is not coming from Nigeria alone? What if it isn't coming from Ghana alone? What if the future belongs to collaboration again? Because history has already shown us what happens when African creatives work together. We've seen the magic before. The real question is, have we learned enough from the past to do it again? And that's where I leave it to you. Do you think Ghana-Nigerian collaboration should return? Which actor defined that era for you? And what was the greatest African movie partnership of all time? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next Pops Vibe show. Make sure you share this video with someone who grew up during the golden age of Nollywood, because trust me, the next story we are discussing on this channel might completely change the way you see African cinema. And honestly, I don't think most people are ready for that conversation yet. So this is me signing out, and I'll see you in the next video.